Anyway, let's talk about the biggest news story of the last couple of weeks, I'd say, since we last recorded. That's the launch of the BMW R18. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think you know my thoughts on it.
I was just kind of letting you say it yourself. Basically, what happened was I texted you and I said, "Have you seen the R18?" And I was like, a bit mixed. Some good stuff, some bad stuff. But you said to me on WhatsApp that you preferred it to the Rocket on first impressions.
Yeah, I stand by that. I stand by that wholeheartedly. No, I did. I was actually a little surprised that you were you sounded not sort of disappointed, but nonplussed, I think. Fair to say.
Well, I think it looks... The biggest comment I've seen is that people are saying it's not as good as the concept. But you could argue that about so many bikes. And that concept was so far from what a production bike ought to... could be, with all of the homologation requirements and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's just unrealistic to expect it to be like that. I think what they've done, like to bring that idea to life, or that at least that look to life within the constraints, I think is pretty good. But I'm not sure if I'd go as far to say that it's as good as the Rocket. But each their own. The reason we were comparing them, I think, is because the price is the same, right?
Yeah, primarily.
Like the Rocket. The Rocket 3R, so the Roadster model, that's 19.5 grand. The GT's a bit more expensive. But this first edition of the R18 is 18,995. So maybe that's where I'm kind of like getting a bit hung up on it. If it was a bit cheaper, then... Yeah, no, completely. I think in terms of, if you're looking at on paper stuff, I think I said to you, didn't I? You brought up actually in your video a few of the Harleys that it compares a little bit closer to, and things like the Indian as well. And for me, the Triumph Speedmaster and Bobber kind of comparison as well. But yeah, if you took it on price, I mean, it overshoots those. So it has to be compared. Well, I say it has to be. It's an obvious comparison for something like the Rocket. And genuinely, out of the two of them, if I was just looking at this on a purely sort of styling basis, I like it. I prefer this to the Rocket. I would own that over the Rocket. It is a good looking bike still. There are loads of little features on there. And what I like is that they haven't made it too much like a Harley style. It's definitely distinctively a BMW, isn't it?
Massively. Yeah, completely. Obviously the Boxer engine is their sort of signature, and that is something at least that changes it and takes it outside of your typical American V-twins, or even something like the 3-cylinder, as unique as that is, the 3-cylinder on the Triumph. And I like that. And you get certain things with that, obviously, as you know, the sort of shake from it being a Boxer engine as well. That's a different thing. The shaft drive, the Boxer, that whole connection, in a lot of ways, feels a little bit more... What's the word I'm sort of looking for here? Visceral is an obvious term to sort of throw into it, but you can feel the bike working underneath you, which I've always liked. I think my previous bike catalogue sort of explains that and shows that as well, but I like that feeling.
Yeah, they've definitely gone for that old school feel. It's got like some old school design features in the engine, like the push rods and stuff like that, but also the way they've based the design on the R5, so like an exposed drive shaft, that looks awesome. And they've done the same trick, haven't they, with the kind of like hardtail look, but with the monoshock kind of inside.
Yeah. And they've got, so the other thing you'll get with this, which you can argue with most bikes, but the customization BMW offers. Have you ever seen any of the R9Ts that they do? They've usually got one sat in their showroom, at least one of them in each of their showrooms, to show off what you could do with an R9T in the hopes that...
Is that the option 719 line of bits or whatever it's called? I don't know if it's 719, where they do all the machined...
Yeah, it rings a bell. The machine, like the milleted cylinder heads and stuff like that. Reservoir
caps and all those kinds of things, and fuel caps and things. Yeah, they I think they're doing all those sorts of things as well for this. And Roland Sands designed some of them as well. So
I did not know that.
Of kudos. Well, they partnered with Vance and Hines to do an exhaust option.
That is a good thing, because actually the one thing I don't like about this bike is the exhaust. I don't see how anyone could like the look of that exhaust. That is an abomination. It's the one conceit I'd make is that visually, it's got to go. Vance and Hines exhaust is the first thing I'll be buying for it.
I get why they've done it. The fishtail thing is a design point. It's like a signature, design feature. But on the concept, it was quite short, wasn't it? It was just in front of the rear wheel.
Yeah, yes, it was. It just kind of widens a little bit towards the end, but the rest of it's pretty smooth. Whereas this has got that lovely big fat chunk in the middle, like a slug.
Yeah, and it's not so much a fishtail as like a big whole tuna or something. It looks because I think the problem is they've got to put the catalyzer in it, so I think that's why it's massive.
Completely.
They've put. I haven't really looked at it too closely, but I assume that the cat, on Triumphs, sometimes they took them under the front. So the headers run down under the front into the cat, back out, and then through the silencer. I think it's all contained at the back there.
Definitely.
So it's kind of understandable.
And they're not the only bikes. Like if you look at any Suzukis and things, or their sort of modern range and things, they've got the biggest, ugliest exhaust on them. And it's an after effect, isn't it? It's because they haven't managed to restrict enough with the electronics of the engine, or the balancing of the engine, so they have to do it after the fact in the exhaust, and they just whack this huge exhaust on there. And I guess expect that most people will change it. It's just that for the manufacturing of it, they can say it meets standards. And
I saw
seldom
crazily, Suzuki filed a patent to put two cats, like I think it's one of the 250s, like the 250 V-Strom engine, and it's in the GSXR 250 or whatever it is. It doesn't comply with Euro 5 anymore, and so I think the cheapest thing for them to do is to just cut the headers and then put another cat in there before the main cat. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
That's crazy, isn't it?
That's the stage that we've got to, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a weird thing. And do we think, like an 800cc bike, or 1,802, let's be specific, why not? To restrict that, or to actually get that to meet emission standards, you need to do a lot to it. So actually, it's quite impressive that that's all they seem to have needed to do to it. But
I get what you're saying, though. Like in the comments, I've seen a few people turned off by that. And to me, though, the Vance and Hines option, it's really long. I don't know if it still houses something like that. Yeah, it doesn't look that great. But I'm sure somebody will make something that's closer to the concept one. But overall, you're saying essentially, well, actually, you were just saying it's customizable.
Yeah.
And I'd agree, actually. Like the parts that you get for the rocket, you can play around a bit with, like the foot position, the bar position is interchangeable between the two bikes, and there's soft luggage and a backrest, but it's not, there's accessories, but it's not like this comprehensive, like massive, whole shop full of them. And there was a few versions in the press shots, wasn't there? One was like a bobber with a fat front wheel.
Yeah. There was the ape hanger one. There was, I forget what.
Yeah, it was like a chopper, wasn't it? With the big. I've never seen that before. What other motorcycles are sold with multiple? There was 4 sizes in the press kit. Something like a 16, 17, 19 and 21 inch front wheel available.
That confused me a little bit. I've never seen anyone else do that I wouldn't even know. If I was going in there and buying it, I don't even know which one I would choose. I'd have to be like, well, which one do you recommend? Like, I'm assuming that their sales team is going to be fully versed on this, and that you'll just go in there and say, this is where I'm riding it, this is how I ride, what would you recommend?
I think it'll probably affect that, obviously it'll affect the handling a bit, it's more about the look. And I think if one of the spoked wheels that's somewhere in the middle of the sizes, I think is the closest to the one that's on the concept bike. I need to make a video about this, but essentially...
And the cruiser style as well, usually you've got a bigger front than rear, and what's the sort of normal size? 19, is it, on the front you would normally go for on a cruiser?
18? Yeah, I mean, just depends. But yeah, I think if you choose the right combo of parts, you can actually get something pretty close looking to the concept. I wonder if they've got a configurator.
Well, on their website, I don't even think they've got it listed at the moment. They've still got.
I went on earlier. I think it must have just gone up recently because I went on the BMW, and you can click find out more, and then I think with the bobber back end with the tractor type seat. There is a configurator. Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to do it now.
No, but I think you've just given me an afternoon of work. That'll be great. I've enjoyed
playing around with that. I waste a lot of time on motorcycle manufacturers' configurators. Just like if I was going to buy this 30 grand bike, what extra? How would I spend an extra £1,000 on it? So that's my sad life at the moment. But I can take what you're saying. I'll take some of those arguments. It does have a bit of je ne sais quoi about it. Yeah. I think it's a good looking bike. It's definitely distinctive. And I agree, you can really make it whatever bike.
Yeah.
But I just think if I'm dropping 20 grand or so, it's hard to overlook the performance really of the Rocket. So biggest ever production motor, 2.5 litres. Most ever torque produced by a bike. I think it's 221 Newton meters.
Yeah.
And that's pretty ridiculous. And then even on power, it's not the most powerful bike, but the R18 is something like 91. So it's really tuned down for that lazy, torquey American cruiser type feel. Yeah. Similar stats to Indians and Harleys, but the Rocket is still 165 brake horsepower at 6,000 revs, and it's about 50 kilograms lighter. Well, something like that. It's about just under 300 kilos dry, and I think the curb weight for the R18 is heavy. It's heavier than the Harleys, I think. 345 kilograms.
Look, I just count that. It just, it's value for money. It's BMW basically saying cancel your gym membership and buy yourself an R18, and then you've got all the workout you need just lugging that thing around, parking it.
Maybe.
I see that as a bonus. Maybe. That's a positive for me.
The old Rocket though it's rapid, and then when you combine the suspensions like Showa front and rear, fully adjustable, upside down forks, big chunky ones.
Yeah.
Brembos, stylemas on the front, and then it's even got a 4-pop Brembo on the back. I think it's a 4-pop brake on the BMW, but they're kind of own brand or unbranded, probably produced by the same blooming company. But they're top spec stuff on the Rocket. And then on top of that, like, I just don't know if I thought that maybe the R18 would come with a bit more gadgetry. Like on the Rocket, you get the same dash as on the 1200 Scrambler. It's really good. There's loads of different views and screens. It's got the phone connectivity, so you can put sat nav in there. You've got rider modes. You do have rider modes on the R18. Did you see what the name of them were called?
Yeah, I did. Let's gloss over them because I don't think that's of no relevance.
So what is it? Is it rain? It's rain and then roll and rock.
It's rock and roll. It's
a bit corny, isn't it?
Well, no.
Anyway, rider configurable mode on the Rocket, which I always like having them on bikes. I've really grown to like them. Stuff like the Africa Twin, where I wanted the sportier settings, but I found the throttle a bit snatchy and a bit harsh. So if you knock it down a few pegs but keep everything quite sporty, I like that. I like the ability to do that. So I think that's kind of important. Hill hold is standard on the Rocket. You have to pay for it on the R18. So if you pay for that, you probably end up at the same price. Keyless ignition, all that stuff. I think you get that on the BMW, but it's just like a full-on tech fest, and it's got an IMU, so you've got ABS and traction control that are cornering sensitive. I don't even think that's a possibility with the old R18. So if you look at it for the money,
the cornering ABS, did you say, or cornering
I don't
traction
think
control?
The R18 has either of those.
It's got cornering. Wait, hold on.
Does it?
Cornering lights and combined ABS.
Yeah, that's different though, isn't it? Cornering light is an option where it kind of
tells you
lights at the corner as you lean into it. Yeah, which is quite nice.
Oh, I thought that was
and then linked. What was it say? Combined ABS. So that's the one where, like the Goldwing, where it sends different amount of braking to each wheel.
Well, you say it worked really well on the Goldwing, and like you said, it's playing into that American market, isn't it, as well? Because some of the Harleys of the same sort of price range do that. So it's people who have those bikes enjoy it, and I think if you're looking at if they're comparing specs as we are now, then I think they'll want to see that it's got the same tricks and toys that their Harley would have.
Yeah, probably. It's interesting, those big 4-pot rear brakes, isn't it? I wonder if that's to do... Why have they both got those? Is it because they've both got hill hold control?
I guess.
And you need a 4-pot.
Yeah, I mean, it's way different to 4-pot. Most kind of middleweight bikes are sort of 2-pot and stuff, right? And single if you're going for a really light bike. I guess they're just going for the weight of it and the style of bike that it is. Then maybe it just needs a little bit extra braking as well.
If you've got 2 up with luggage and that rear brake is the only thing stopping you from rolling backwards down a hill, if you're using the hill hold control, it's got to be it. Otherwise,
I mean, bear in mind, 345 kilograms, you need to keep that from rolling down a hill because you're not doing that on your own.
Or you'll be absolutely murdering the clutch. Brembo, it's a Brembo M4.32 on the Rocket. That's like high spec sports brake. Yeah. But anyway, you could rip some fat skids if you put one of those on your new CB1300. Sorry,
I could do. Yeah, I could do on my CB1300. I see what you're saying. I can hear what you're saying there, Rob. And yeah, no doubt, if you're looking at the specifications of it, if you're listing off what this thing will do, yours is a digital watch,
weapon,
and mine's an Omega. It's just, what do you want to pay for? Do you want to pay for the sort of subtlety of beautifully working mechanics, or do you want the bells and whistles of being able to say that you have the best bike in the car park?
How do we reveal whether we've convinced each other without telling? Like, have you changed your mind is what I'm asking you. But if I had the 18 grand to play with, would I buy a Rocket, or the money available? Would I buy a Rocket, or would I buy a BMW? I'd still buy the BMW, Rob. I think if I've got that much money that I'm playing around with, and I'm assuming I've won the lottery, then I'm going for the BMW. I have to. Because it's not, when you get to that stage, it's not about showing up and showing off that your bike will do everything and will connect to your phone. It's about the beautiful simplicity of saying it's got all these sort of clever little features, maybe not all of them, but they're all concealed because it looks like it's from the 1940s, 1930s. I can't believe you just trivialized that phone connectivity like that.
Everything connects to my phone now. I don't need my bike to do it as well.
True. I was going to say, have you convinced me?
Yeah, have I convinced you to...
well, I'm not going to say yes now, am I?
Why?
After you've said no.
Oh, okay.
Nah,
that's
definitely.
me.
I'd have the... I know. No, I'm definitely... I'd stick with the Rocket. I think it's built in.
I think that's great, because then we get to swap. That's the point. We get to go on a ride out and just change bikes. So...
This is a parallel universe where we're really successful and rich. As it stands, we have to swap between a Street Twin and a CB1300 with a big windscreen on it.
Don't be taking the piss out of my new bike before I've even got it.